it drives me crazy. I feel like you were made just for me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hustle Woman Radio, where the joy of the Lord is our strength so that the obstacles of life don't become our kryptonite. This is the station where you will learn, laugh, and get loved on. I'm your host, the Hustle Woman herself, Aquila Maddox, also known to many as the Inspirationalist. I have a passion to see women walk in joy, peace, and love within themselves and their relationships. That causes a major impact on your productivity as well as your self-esteem. Because I don't want to see my queens depressed and unaware of their self-worth. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share the air with you on this amazing Sunday. As always, I look forward to an opportunity to share revelation that I've received, and hopefully that it adds value to your life and causes a major life change. I mean, because honest and truthfully, life is more difficult, than some would admit. And so any bit of nuggets to help us do these things a little bit more gracefully would be amazing. Well, I'm super excited for our topic today because I've talked to quite a few women out there who are married as well as single about the men in their life or the men that they have had in their life. And it's always established that they are waiting on their Boaz. You know, if you don't know the story in the Bible, it's Ruth and Boaz, and she gets this amazing man who's vowed to basically take care of her without actually making that commitment. He just began to look out for her best interests, covering her and protecting her and making sure that no one would bring any harm to her, right? And we're waiting for that. That is something that we definitely desire to have as a woman. We want the covering. We want the strong man that defends us and speak on our behalf. Well, here's the reality, guys. I'm super excited because I want to let you all know that everybody does not get a Boaz. I don't believe that every woman is called to a Boaz type of man. Why do you say that, right? Because God wants the best for us, Aquila. Why would you say something like that? You busting my bubble. Well, the truth of the matter is that God does want the best for us. And what he wants for us is something lasting. And you got to admit, some of us have had some amazing people come our way, and we didn't know what to do with that. We didn't appreciate it. And at the first sign, well, I ain't going to say maybe the first sign, because some of you would absolutely beg to differ. But at the sign of some problems or struggle, we began to say, hey, you've changed. I know you don't think I'm going to stick around for this, because what I signed up for wasn't you losing your job and becoming emotionally unstable. I didn't sign up for you, now having this relationship with your mother that seems to take precedence over our relationship. I didn't sign up for you choosing your children over me. When we were dating, you were including me on the decisions of their life. You were very invested in us building a relationship together. And now it seems like I'm kind of an outsider where it comes to them. And so although I know that there are so many other scenarios out there that I obviously did not include, I just want to encourage you and let you know that all of those scenarios have purpose. And I didn't break down every guy in the Bible, but I just wanted to pull out a couple of them because there's different people that God will bring together because the main priority and purpose, honest and truthfully, is for love to have its perfect work. And for us to see what love everlasting looks like. And I believe that, marriage is definitely meant to be a reflection of Christ's love towards the church. So that means that we can't just give up on that thing. You know what I mean? That means that it has to continue to succeed because God said in his word that he is not a man that he shall lie. And when he said that love never fails, that's what he meant. And so he put us together at times to refine us and to really and truthfully cultivate our ability to love on someone else. It's not always about what other people give to us, but it's about how we are able to give relentlessly to someone else. The same way that Jesus went and gave his life regardless of your decision. You may not believe in Jesus. You may not believe in God at all. But it didn't change the fact that there was a decision made on your behalf, in my belief. You may not always do what you believe is the best thing, or should I say make the best choices to best represent your belief or your faith. But it doesn't change the reality that his sacrifice is still just for you, and his love does not change. It's still just as strong as it was when he was suffering for you as it is now. So with that being said, let's get to it. So Ruth, obviously, you know what I'm saying? She was a lucky woman, so to speak. But here's the reality, right? Or here's the thing. You look at Adam, because some of us will have some Adams. They leave their mother and their father, and they began to try to figure out this independent thing on their own, even though there's been a plan mapped out for their life, right? You've had someone where their parents have had expectation for them to go to college and wanted them to get married and whatever the case may be. And as they began to navigate through their life experiences, they started to really and truthfully consider the opinion of their woman in a way that would make them not even seem strong. Because Adam, he valued the voice of his wife in such a way as he was trying to navigate and figure out this independence thing, that he stepped out of what God had intended for him. But it was a very valuable lesson for Adam, because it a lot of times, even in the life of a man, they have to have that OJT, that on-the-job training, in order for them to recognize, oh, shoot, I listened to my wife, and the Lord had already given me instruction. And although I love my wife, I have to look out for the best interest of my family, and not just for the moment, but for the long haul, right? And then we've got people like Noah. Noah was entrusted with a big task. So you may meet somebody who's got like big plans, major good stuff going on in their life. I'm talking about they're in medical school. They've got a really great career that they've been establishing. They are maybe a very successful business owner. And then all of a sudden, as they're doing life, they're including you in all of their plans. They're not sharing with everybody. So this is very valuable for you. They're sharing with you, hey, this is what's going to happen, and this is how this thing is unfolding. And then all of a sudden, something happens where they're no longer working, or they're not producing to the same magnitude that they were initially. And it really begins to affect them, because Noah found himself drunk. Once this whole situation was over, it was obviously overwhelming enough to cause this man to drink. And so sometimes we have men in our lives that are trying to navigate through that. What do I do when the great magnitude of purpose seems to cease to exist in my life? And it affects how I see myself. It affects my productivity, because I feel like I am more valuable or most valued when I'm doing something so great. And then we've got people like Moses. Insecure. He was so insecure, you guys, no matter how much anybody else would have spoke to him and told him, listen, you're good, you're great, you're awesome. It took him honest and truthfully having to be in the presence of God in order for him to really and truthfully walk in that confidence. He told even the Lord, like, listen, I ain't got no eloquent speech here. I need some help. I don't know what you want me to say. You want me to go up against the Pharaoh and help deliver other people, and again do something that is so great. But I'm just little old me, and I've got these problems that I struggle with that are from my past, that I'm constantly reminded of, and it hinders my ability or affects my ability to walk forward in purpose. Ladies, we've had men like that. They struggle with their past situation, and it really begins to impact their identity and the way they see themselves. And they have to literally just sit there and marinate in the presence of God for God to establish confidence in them before they could even move in purpose. And you wondering, like, I keep encouraging him, and he ain't moving. I keep praying for him, and I don't see any results. I'm just constantly, giving him books and resources and helping him, pointing him in the directions of conferences. And I'm trying to figure it out. Like, what more does he want from me? What does he need? He doesn't seem like he's doing anything. Well, sometimes what he needs is, honest and truthfully, he has the best woman, and it could be, definitely you, right? but he may need something more. And in his own time, the Lord begins to establish that, because what the Lord had to do for Moses was pull him out of all that he knew and have some intimate time with him by himself. And then we got people like David, you guys. David was a man who had probably a rinky-dink job. You know, he's the guy who a lot of us ladies would have passed over because he ain't got the CEO position, or he's not making a lot of money, because just like because in his story, just like a lot of people today, he was overlooked because he was tending sheep. They like, that ain't no strong position. What is he going to do? But see, they don't realize that even in that position that didn't seem to be as valuable, God had done so many great things that his confidence was like out of this world. Man, so when giants came up, he was faced with a giant, he slayed that thing one hit a quitter. You understand what I'm saying? Because he understood his gifts. He understood the tools that God had already given him, and he was able to walk in that thing and not worry about walking in the shoes of someone else. And oftentimes, and to be honest with you, we began to change even that for them. We say, listen, you know, in order for you to look like you are a man of valor, a man of value, I want you to come out of this sheep position, this position that does not look like it's of great value. And I want to help place you here. And I want to begin to give you resources. Here, I want to redo your resume for you. I want to help you look for a different job and all these other things, and not realizing that God has them exactly where they need to be. And he's still building their skill set right where they are. And it actually serves a purpose for where God is going to take them next. So we have to really begin to just understand that each individual road God is so intentional about that. But see, with David, man, listen, he conquered that giant. And his confidence was already super crazy. You have to understand, when you walk in confidence and you know who God is in your life, you're going to have some problems, because there's going to be situations that are literally just that, and traps that are and snares that are just set up for you. Because that brother began to struggle, man. You have to understand, there were people who wanted to kill him. And you tell me how you feel if you walking and you following the Lord, and all of a sudden somebody's seeking after your head, right? And so his life, he was battling so much. He was a handsome man, so women throwing themselves at him, and he could have any woman he wanted. He did his best to walk in there too. So he had some struggles, but yet and still he was a man after God's own heart. Do you know how to walk with a man like that? Do you know how to love on a man who is so loved by God that he struggles with shaking the things of the world? Man, I'm trying to tell you, ladies, everybody don't get no Boaz, and no matter how you look at it, it still works. And my last example is, we think about the disciples, right? Think about the disciples. These men of God are out here pursuing. We want men of God who walk with Jesus, and that's what they did. But in them walking with Jesus, it pulled them away from their families. They were on missions, you understand, away from their family for years to learn, to really get in the presence of God, to understand what God has established in them to do. That ain't no easy task. Are you able to support and love a man who has been called to the ministry? Because some of us are like, I want a man of God. I want a man who follows after Christ. But do you know what that entails? And if it looked like that, would you be able to handle it? See, because even in Ruth's life, you have to understand, it wasn't necessarily the easiest road. She had a husband prior to her meeting Boaz, who died. And so she was a widow, sitting in the presence of her mother-in-law. And a lot of you out there who are listening to this, if you're married, I know some of you do not like your mother-in-law. But she sat in the presence of her mother-in-law, constantly being spoken to, and just wisdom just poured up on her. And she was just loving on her mother-in-law and just appreciating the opportunity to be in the presence of this older woman. But anyhow, she began to go out and looking for some grain. She told her mother-in-law, I'm about to go look at some grain, and basically I'm going to pick over the leftovers of anyone who would allow me. And she went and did that, and she began to pick the grain on Boaz's field. And she was working, y'all. She had to work. And Boaz, believe it or not, began to still establish a little bit more work because he said, hey, only pick from this field. He didn't just come in and say, hey, don't do anything. He still allowed the opportunity and empowered her to still be able to do the work that she came initially to do. And she did this for such a time. She kept working in that field, getting grain and taking it back to her family and telling her mother-in-law about her experiences. And then he was about to pass her up because he was like, listen, she needed a guardian, and he had suggested a different guardian for her and said, listen, if you can't be the guardian so that she can keep that her land can still have the last name of it, and basically says that her family's name would still be on that land. He said to the other guardian, he said, listen, if you can't do it, then I'll be the next in line. So just because your Boaz come does not mean that he's always right away ready for you. Somebody else may come up, even in the midst of you meeting him. You having conversation and talking to him, right? And then him realizing and you guys realizing that this isn't where God wants me to be. And the next minute, you know, the Lord sets it up where Boaz did take possession of the land, and he was her guardian and the guardian of that land, and she was able to still keep her family name on the land. And then he still, after some more time, then he took her as a wife. There was still work. There was still time. There was some things that didn't look like she was. I'm pretty sure through the story, if you read it here in Ruth, you guys, it didn't look like she was going to marry this brother right away. It wasn't the most romantic story to begin with. But no matter what, work was still involved. And that's what love is. Love is always going to be work. And I tell my clients, I tell my friends, I tell everybody, love is meant to work. And if it ain't working, it ain't love. Because love came and it died. It served. It gave. It helped. It sacrificed. It did some work. So I want to encourage you to let your love continue to do the work. Understanding that just because you're not called to a Boaz does not mean you won't have a great man. It does not mean that you will not have a man of God. Everybody's road is different, but the end is always the same with the Lord. And that's the fact is. And the fact is that you win. And that love itself is revealed through your relationship. Hey, this is the Inspirationalist. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we talked about today, that everybody don't get the pleasure and the joy of having a Boaz. I was super excited to share today, and I hope it blessed you in some way or another. I look so forward to hearing your feedback, your comments. Definitely share it. We're preparing for the Hustle Women Convention. There's a lot of other events going on that the Inspirationalist is a part of, and as always, you're going to see those updates on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn and everywhere else. I look forward to meeting you all in person. It's always a pleasure so much to see your feedback and your comments and your likes and all your love, and I want you to know that it does not go unnoticed, and I surely do appreciate all your love and support. Well, till next time, you guys, next Sunday. Have a good weekend, a good rest of the week, as well as an amazing Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, but definitely enjoy your itis as you take a nap after your full meal. God bless you all. Have a good night.
It drives me crazy. I feel like you were made just for me, babe. Tell me if you feel the same.